Prettied up here. Gotta make sure I look all right.
We're good. We're already going live.
Yeah, it's
We're
live now.
we are live.
We're
Okay,
live.
no candid private mommy time.
Nope, sorry. We can do that afterwards if you need, because we do need to catch up.
Yeah.
Uh,
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good too.
I'm super excited about this.
Yeah, it should be
And
fun. I think you got
there's
some people hyped.
there's no delay. I don't think we have a delay right now, do we?
I feel like you've been in a different spot every time we've talked.
What?
Have,
Like,
have you moved your? And I've seen you like on your couch. I've seen, seems
well,
like you move
I
around the house.
yeah. I mean, I mostly do it from right here, but I have a couch on the other in my closet here on the other side. So when I have a guest here in person, I've done it from over there before. So I just like flip the camera around.
But
It's
yeah,
pretty smooth.
this is a way better signal.
Yeah, this is so maybe it is that program you were using. I don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna have to investigate.
Hold on, let me share this again
Oh,
onto
you're not
Twitter.
supposed to see the. Oops. This
What's
is.
back there? Is that your secret sex dungeon?
This is, if anything, this is my secret sex dungeon because this is the soundproof room in the house.
I
Sealed
like
off.
it.
No. Well, I built a window like a studio, a double layer window, but you can't move it, open it, or anything.
Okay.
But I still the problem. The only reason this can't be like a pretty good, legit music and live stream studios because you can hear it a little bit. This buzzing in the mic, which is just atmospheric radiation. It's picking up in the mic.
Oh, are you
Yeah, it's
safe over
wild.
there? Are you
I don't
safe?
know. I hope so. Something
Just
about
chilling.
old school wiring, maybe. I don't know.
Well, have you heard of those people who like they really feel like they get sick from
Yeah,
electronic signals and stuff like that?
yeah.
It's a whole thing. I'm like, I mean, I
No,
don't
it's
know.
radiation. It's
Yeah,
radiation. It's legit.
it's stuff going through the air and whatnot. Oh, hold on. I also want to put it that I'm watching it on my phone just to bump up the numbers because I'm like
Oh
that.
yeah. I mean, even if I did, it wouldn't do too much.
It's all
you're
good.
you're my bump. You've been bumping me. I need to
I'm
get more
trying to do
bumps
the
though.
forest mommy bump. Normally, I'd have a little more
Yeah.
people on right now. I guess it's
I didn't
early in the day, but
I didn't realize I was looking at your profile on Twitter. I was like 20,000. I don't remember you getting there. I guess Desert Dad, you took a little time to get up there.
I was at 18 when Forest Mommy blew up or when she got banned. So I'm back to more now. So
I think
ugh.
Terminator Mommy's a hit over there.
I kind of like it. It's a little bit more. It's kind of the more. I do love the Forest Mommy vibes of being like the blessed mother. Very nurturing. But then there's it's kind of nice to have a Terminator side too, just to like let people know that I will fuck their shit up. So
I believe it.
I'm not scared of them. I'm at 21.3 now, just FYI. Oh.
Nice.
Hey, Centrist. Hey, Kaiba. Okay. Hey, Alice. Okay, I got a couple peeps in here. Do you just want to? Oh, first, I wanted to thank you for the last time I was on yours. You were so sweet because you were like just trying to get to know me, get to know the whole like forest mommy thing, and I thought
Yeah,
that was very sweet.
it is. Well, I feel sweet about you, but
Oh,
but
thanks.
it's also being professional. I'm trying to be professional in the way that I conduct the interviews. I'm
Yeah.
trying to I'm inspired by as an interviewer, although I stopped listening to his podcast because he just got to like wear a fucking mask attitude. And that's Mark Maron, and great interviewer, fantastic interviewer. If there's
Okay.
somebody that I want to get to know and he's interviewed them, that's definitely a podcast I go to. He's great at doing a biographical and interview and getting to know people like that. So,
Okay. Kind of like pulling it
uh,
out of people. Well, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit?
yeah, we'll kind of do that sort of interview on me today. You can.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So I'm gonna sort of do what I wanted to do. I told you on Twitter that I was interviewed by a famous person, fairly famous. Sam Tripoli had me on his
Oh,
pa-
yeah, he does a lot of conspiracy stuff. I like
it-
him.
yeah, he did a Patreon with me, two of them with me. One was supposed to be for a spiritual podcast. It both of them just ended up on his Patreon. And
So you have
he
to
just,
pay to see him.
yeah, and now they're gone. I paid $5 to go in there and grab the audio, so I would at least have it in my archive. But because I wasn't even on his Patreon, I saw him at a show, a comedy show he did, and he's like, "Why don't you come on the Patreon?" So but then so I showed him some books. This book here is a good example of my childhood, and this book was in my house, the house I bought in Philly in 2019.
As an
I moved.
adult later on, it just was in the house.
I moved in this house that I absorbed all this stuff with it. Closets full of shit. So I had to dig through and find some treasure, and but I had to deal weight and shit. It was awful. One of the treasure / shit was the book, but this book is one of the first memories I have of Scientology. I was born. Yeah, this is the book that, to me, the first memory I have of that. And I remember staring at the cover, self-analysis. I must have been like 5, and they're having me do like self-analysis bits through this book. And it's like, that's a form of trauma, what I've realized. Now, I'm not here to bash. I'm probably already on their SP list. If you know what SP means, it's
suppressive person.
You got it.
Yeah.
How much do you know?
Before I watched all the Leah Remini stuff, or however you say her name, but before her, I would say I knew a little bit, but probably got most of my more inner information from her shows. But I'm excited to learn more now from you, especially the growing up in it, because I don't think she really grew up in it, right?
Good question.
Yeah.
She might have come to that later, but it was through her mother.
Yeah.
So a similar situation. But I do think that she came to it as an adult. And that's an important distinction. I'm not a former who got out as an adult. I never was in that sense. Like a lot of people, they grow up and they never go to their church again. It's just kind of, I'm another case of somebody who never went back to their church. And eventually my parents never went back. And their story is theirs to tell. And if I made claims about what happened with them, I couldn't prove them or corroborate them. They have some correspondence, but that's their business. They're not going to deal with it. They're letting it go, whatever losses they may have incurred. But it's fine. They're better for it. So we're all out, and I was never in as an adult.
Okay.
Now they did keep tabs on me. They've kept tabs on me. The last phone call I got was in 2014, and there was mail coming to this house, and that stopped. And I have a feeling they know. They're like, "Oh fuck, I don't know."
They just must do they keep a list of everybody? Sorry, you can tell your story how you want to tell it, and I'll try not to like interrupt.
No, I don't want to just blather. I want you to jump in as much as you. Okay. I don't know what that list is, but yeah, there is a list of every. There's a file of me in the church. Of course there is, because I took coursework as a kid. My parents, yeah, there's definitely a file of me there. And they called me on the phone in 2014. That's the last I've ever heard from them. But yeah, I was still getting mail, and they keep track of you. And then if you go against them, as you saw it with Leah Remini, there was consequences, and I haven't really seen any in my life that I'm aware of. I've had some weird shit happen in my life, a lot of weird shit, but that's another episode or something. Fishy stuff. So God knows. Sometimes I theorize from a conspiratorial standpoint, conspiracy theory perspective, that you're born onto a government watch list if you're born into that church. You know what I mean? Like intelligence. Like what was Scientology as a project. You got these characters involved that have their little fingers in the elites, and L. Ron Hubbard, I can't tell really for sure. It seems like he spun off and just kind of spun out. And so what did you learn, or did you do any research into the genesis of Scientology, the relationship of LRH to Crowley and
I knew
JPL
how he
guy?
kind of came around towards the end of Jack Parsons' use for the government, I feel like, and when the Thelema cult was kind of like spinning out, and I know L. Ron Hubbard took his first wife, right?
Right. Or
And
something like
then
that. He took
yeah,
his
like
wife.
I mean, it was all convoluted, you know, as a sex call at that point. But then I think that Jack Parsons married the first wife's sister, anyways, too, or something eventually. Like, but I mean, the way you said how it was a government program. Once I learned about his connection with Parsons coming in towards the end of Parsons stuff, and then how, I mean, it just like kind of makes sense that this was all some sort of dark magic government project or something. I
Yeah,
don't
and
know.
it all coincides with the era of mind control experimentation, the beginning of the mind control experimentation. And definitely there's aspects of Scientology that I've learned are magic practices that I did as a kid, basic, like Marina Abramovic. Have you seen Marina Abramovic's video? Do you know who she is? She comes a
I don't
lot.
think so.
She comes up all the time in the Pizzagate stuff and QAnon stuff.
Oh, she's like a conspiracy person.
Well, no, she's an artist. Artist. No, she's an artist, but that's the thing. Like, I come from the world of contemporary art in Portland, very lefty. Like, now it's just super woke. It always had a touch of the woke, but it was kind of like, I don't know, if it felt okay. It felt better back then. Now it's just volume 10 on the wokeness in contemporary art. But so Marina Abramovic to me is a contemporary art figure that likes to do magic type stuff, alchemical type stuff in her work, and she does something that I recognized as TR1, I believe. And I can't remember what it is, but it's what TR stands for. My parents were here; they would tell me. And it's just staring at somebody. You just stare. You just sit and look straight across.
Okay, I remember them talking about the staring thing.
Mm-hmm. And you just lock eyes, and then shit gets weird a little bit.
Well, yeah, because even in like normal life, when like you're in like when you look into someone's eyes, you really like feel things. So
Yeah.
like if you're doing it, yeah,
It's intense.
doing
And
it like
you're
that.
6 years old, and you're staring somebody like that. And Marina Abramovic does it. And there's an interesting moment where her former artist partner shows up in the middle of that, because she's doing this publicly. You can just sit down across from her and stare with her. And he shows up, and they start crying. We don't know exactly why they split up, but I have a feeling it's because she went her path, darker path, and he his path.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because contemporary art can be a lot of fun and humorous, but you can also get like dark and weird. And there's people doing weird magic shit. A lot of my friends are practice magic.
I feel like I can a little bit too, but I try to keep it on the light magic light side. I'm just kidding. But not really. But
you don't do you do rituals? Any kind of
no,
rituals?
not rituals. More like what you were talking about. You just when you focus on things, when you know.
When you come.
Yeah.
Do you do that? Do you practice
Yeah.
that?
Well, like I focus on people.
That you want to come to or come with, right?
Yeah,
That's
and
nice.
it's I feel like it's a nice thing. It's not like a dark thing, but
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe I'm dipping my toes in the dark magic. I don't know.
I think so. I'm starting to see that. I'm more
Well,
careful now.
I had a friend of mine told me the other day, but he's more Christian, and we've been talking about the black magic and how you like repeating things that are wrong will eventually make them true or whatever, you know. And then like I was like, well, I kind of like the idea of like nice sex magic. And he was like, no, it all goes bad. It's all bad. And I was like, God damn it.
Yeah, world peace. Coming for world peace.
Yeah.
Coming
I'm
for cancer.
I'm much more
Everybody,
selfish about it.
imagine a global effort to come for cancer. Like everybody in the world just concentrate on the cure, just like
It'll work.
Jack Parsons concentrated on the rockets. I did a little bit of reading last night, and I think it's pretty fascinating. Like, and I also did like on Tinfoil Hats, the Sam Tripoli's podcast. They did get into this recently, and talking about Jack Parsons concentrating on these rockets, and he was really prodigious. He was like 30 years old when he was ousted from his own laboratory. I mean, it's amazing. He had manifested all that. L. Ron Hubbard's proudest achievement, according to something I read, was that they together, him with Jack Parsons, were jerking off together, thinking about a redheaded goddess, and they believe they manifested her because this woman showed up in their life and became, I don't know, part of their sex games, part of their sex magic. That might be the person that L. Ron Hubbard ran off with. I'm not an expert on that narrative.
I think it was, well, because I think Parsons had a wife before the whole, and he like kind of got her into it once they got him into it, or like they kind of like they basically seduced him. That's what it feels like, and brought him into it. That's why I feel like it was some government program too, because it was like they had to like get this guy to make the rockets and stuff, so they had to do, I don't know. I need to do more study too. But I want to hear your stuff too, because like you started with that book and then it showed up in your life again. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's creepy. It's the only house I put an offer on. I don't know. I was dead set on getting this house. And then there it is. It's just weird. Why does the universe do that kind of stuff? And I found like the receipt. I believe it's in here. Of like when the guy like did like one transaction. I shouldn't dox this person.
He's safe in Scientology. It's fine.
Yeah, I held that up for too long. So no, it's weird. So yeah, I kept it because, well, it's just something. It's like something you just have to do. I don't know. Just a reminder of where I come from, I guess. And then I found fascinating this. This is the guy, Jiddu Krishnamurti became basically my anti-guru. Somebody turned me on to him when I was like 19. Somebody through work. Yeah. So Jiddu Krishnamurti, here's the Star in the East, is the book. And here's the guy. Young Krishnamurti is named the global teacher, the Messiah, by the Theosophical Society. Okay. Aleister Crowley doesn't like him, doesn't like the project of this teacher, global teacher. And Ani Besant, a lot of this you get into in here, but then I've learned since recently more. It's so fascinating because Jiddu Krishnamurti did probably meet Aleister Crowley, but they were opposed. And eventually Krishnamurti grifted some money out of the society and then denounced everything and then went off and started his completely unusual, sort of a brilliant like business operation. But he sold nothing but books, which were nothing but transcriptions of his talks. So you would just sell talks and then transcribe and then his business partners would transcribe the books. So he just got to vibe through life talking about detaching and having no connection to churches or governments. He's basically an anarchist philosopher, but he's never referred to the anarchist movement. So here's one of his books, one of my favorite, The Awakening of Intelligence, because it's not like he uses a different sort of language to make sure that you're never concerned with sectarian thinking. He wants to completely decondition you from any church you grew up in, any assumptions you have about what a government should be, so that you don't also fall prey to like becoming a communist, becoming a socialist, becoming a heartless capitalist. He's like trying to show you the way, the pathless way. And that's what I needed when I was 19, when I was done with Scientology and I knew I was done. And if you go to SeanOngley.com, you can search Scientology. I've written some personal narratives and memoir about it. And so it's so wild that, to me, that Krishnamurti, when I learned about him, I didn't know anything about his connections to theosophy, because that wasn't very well known. And not this biography that I showed you was like Star in the East is like the first book that really reveals everything, makes it clear. And because he completely renounced it and never talked about it again, as if it never happened, as if this global weird cult had not conditioned him and raised him to be the Messiah. He just let it go and then practiced the rest of his life never talking about it, and then encouraged others to do the same.
So he would know. I mean, he would probably know best, like how to, not be wooed into that stuff.
That's why, to me, he's somebody I look up to a lot, because, I have to decondition myself. But he had a much greater temptation. He made his own way after that, and nobody could really rule him after that. And so I think I've been living my life in his image in a way.
Good. No rulers.
So that's kind of my story as to where spiritually. And then after that, I think the other thing that I just put out there is Vipassana. I practice Vipassana when I'm in my routine, which is the most stripped down basic form of meditation, like Zen, pretty similar, but eyes closed. I'll sometimes eyes open, but just a simple seeing what's happening in your body for what it is, and in your mind for what it is, and not trying to shift it or guide it. Not a guided meditation, not a verbalized meditation, just scanning your body, paying attention to everything that's going on in the present. So very deconditioning, another form of deconditioning. That's
very personal. Like no one from the outside can like be a part of that, really. I guess unless you believe in a god or something. But
go ahead. There's a teacher, Goenka, founded a school, and there's a global network of these Vipassana retreats where you do a standard 10-day silent meditation. I've done that one time, and then I volunteered a couple times. And there's guidance, but it's pretty much like you said, the only person who's going to see your body sensations and what's going on in your mind is you. So nobody can get you there but you.
Yep. So growing up, did you how often would you actually go to a church, like a building or?
Yeah, on State Street in Santa Barbara. I believe it's still there.
Okay. So it's one of their Scientology churches.
It's one of the bigger ones. Yeah. I mean, in the 80s, Santa Barbara was not quite what it is today. Super wealthy retreat for Hollywood people. But it was a nice place to be, and connected to the LA. My parents met at the Big Blue building. You've seen that a million times, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the Celebrity Center. I don't think they got to go there.
So were your parents into it separately, and then they met through the church?
Right. They both found their way down there to LA. my mother was going to a place in Detroit. I guess there was a church in Detroit, and she was doing it there, and she wanted to get really deep. She wanted to get really into it, so she went to L.A. Besides, there's also an economic motivation. In the 70s, mid 70s, things were falling apart out here in the Northeast. My dad was from Pennsylvania. There weren't a lot of opportunities. The towns were crumbling. Out west, however, things were banging. So that's where they went, and and they met there. My dad apparently wrote. He told me that he wrote a letter with his buddies to the Moody Blues, asking what they thought about Scientology and if they should explore it. And they wrote affirmatively, everything's worth exploring, essentially, but don't get too hung up on it.
Oh, that's a good Moody Blues message.
It was, but they unfortunately, my dad got hung up on it. But unfortunately, I shouldn't say that because I was born in it, so I can't curse it. I can't curse my parents for doing that.
We are who we are because of where we come from, and our parents don't know what they don't know, and they do with we are. It's we can't it's not necessarily unfortunate, but I'm with you on that.
Yeah, no, I treat everything as an opportunity now. Like, even how I look back at things that my fuck ups, I still look at them.
You fuck up. You don't fuck up. Come on.
I've had a lot of fuck ups.
Just kidding. Haven't we all?
Yeah. What kind of details? You just be curious.
Yeah. So, okay. So, I know, would they have the kids doing the classes multiple times a week? Would you have to go there and do whatever? I know they have them working, doing stuff. You weren't in the Sea Org, correct?
No. Now, my mother never wanted me there.
Okay.
They kept us in the public school systems when some of our friends were going off to Delphi, up in Oregon. In fact, my childhood friends went up to Oregon to the Delphi. So I'm grateful for that. My mother had a good sense about it. She always, in the back of her mind, always knew something was weird about it too. She's talked about that. It's funny how people always have a little thing, just that cognitive dissonance. Yeah, so there's not, when you think of church, you think of congregation, right? Like a weekly congregation.
Yeah, fellowship and coming together.
There isn't that. Not really.
Okay.
There's individual coursework that you do, and it costs a boatload of money. And there's specific
you pay them, right? People pay the church to be a part of it.
We had 2 e-meters. They're like $1,000 in the 80s.
And those are the things you hang on to that supposedly can tell how bad you are or something, or
so that's auditing. It's a tool used for auditing the e-meter, and it is a basic. So this is what is scientific about L. Ron Hubbard. He believed, and so did that's the thing about Parsons. He also spun out and believed that he was going to bring magic to science. And I think that basically when you talk about Scientology was founded on a bet, I'm beginning to think that the bet was actually who's going to start the magic, the real magic religion. Is it going to be Jack Parsons or is it going to be L. Ron Hubbard? And they were in their own competition.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think it's something more like that, because L. Ron Hubbard, from everything I've seen, I cannot see that he was playing ball. Miscavige, however, the guy who runs the show now, who's from Philadelphia, which is a Masonic city, the capital of America. All these things are fascinating because Scientology is a lot like the Masonic structure. There's the bridge to total freedom, and then the Masonic degrees. And So it's like this profitable structure.
Right.
It's like a so the e-meter is used for auditing, and auditing is the foundation of what he believes to be the science of it, where he's measuring your energy, and your energy is registering a number of things. We had overts and withholds, for example. So my parents said, we just had our own language, but it all kind of meant the same thing. Like my parents had asked, do you have an overt? So that's like, did you do something wrong? And are you withholding it from me? A withhold. And so you're like, this whole language, my parents still use a lot of it. They can't let it go. Just like talk like a normal person.
Well, at least I mean, you know what they mean, I guess, but I guess that was just so beat into them. Not beat, that's just, but like
Drilled.
Yeah.
That's a word they use, drill. Yeah, you do a lot of drilling. There's a lot of drills involved in Scientology. Communication course was one of the other things. That self-analysis book, that is one of the courses. But I think you do like I think we just did a small part for us as kids. One of the things I wrote about was one of my first memories. I had some kind of blackout memory experience. There's something that happened to me. It's weird. It's personal, and I don't know exactly what it is, but it would traumatize me enough to become mute when I was like 4 years old. So I entered kindergarten, a mute, and that set the foundation for just a whole lifetime of like social awkward confusion.
Oh.
Plus, being raised in Scientology, where you learn how to communicate and expect certain communication according to L. Ron Hubbard's standards. So I kind of like got conditioned the whole time to be different. Since it was weird. One thing they were trying to do is like bring me back to present time. So they thought that I was still stuck in that traumatic moment, and they had practices drills to bring you back to present time. So you'd be like, see the counter, touch the counter, go walk. Have you seen The Master? You watched that movie?
Mm-mm.
Watch that movie. I did
Okay.
a number of those things. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Paul Thomas Anderson.
Okay. Wait, the map. Oh, is that the one with what's his face?
Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah, and then the
Joaquin
hair.
Phoenix.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I did see that one. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember, he's like walking across back and forth in the room, touching the wall. Like that's the kind of stuff that I did. Like those are the kind of drills, early drills that I remember doing. But they did it to agonize him to an agonizing degree. And I think when you're a kid, you don't see any of that. Like the 3 levels of TRs, one of them is the third is bull bait. The first is eyes closed, second eyes open, third bull bait. Somebody's actively trying to break your attention, break your stoicism. You're not supposed to react because the whole structure is the reactive mind. You're trying to liberate yourself from the reactive mind. And in theory, I still agree with that concept. But I just wouldn't
not
use
for
it.
like a cult. They want you to not react to them, so you'll fall in line with them, basically. Whereas it's a healthy to not be reactive as an individual.
Right. The particular TR drill, though, I believe is a form of some kind of a mind control thing, though. Like you don't have to. I think that when you're an adult and you do the bull baiting thing, you often get into potentially abusive situations where somebody's using abusive language. When you're a kid, they just try to tease you a little bit, but have fun, just kind of maybe spook you a little bit, but nothing. It was always fun. It was kind of fun in a way. It was weird. I mean, we went to the church a lot. We were very involved. We did a lot of these things, and there was some of it was fun, and some of it helped me learn to study better. But I think that a lot of these things you can learn from all kinds of places. So I wouldn't say that there's anything you get from it that you don't get from all kinds of other places. So it's
Yeah, I've come, me being raised in the religion I was raised in, I've kind of come to that conclusion too. Like you can learn so many of these lessons anywhere, elsewhere, just from being around humans, and interacting with them. And So I get that.
Oh God, somebody's chatting up like crazy. I just realized I didn't look at the chat until
Yeah,
just now.
they're. I don't know who that is, but they're going nuts. Either way, it's all good.
Yeah. Boom. See, there are a lot of experts that know a lot of stuff.
But I'm talking to you. I like
Yeah.
to hear your experiences because I like you.
And I think that there's a lot more exposed than I can expose, so I'm not really doing anything too
You're not.
provocative.
Oh, you're great. I just like hearing the experience, and it's kind of interesting to hear it. Just like, same thing for me. Like I moved out young, and that was, that was it. But I never like really believed the religion. I just never believed it anyway. So it wasn't like, I don't know, but I feel like you could just talk about it in a nonchalant way, which is really cool. And you're not like bitter and angry. I don't get that vibe from you either, which is how you
I
talk about things.
I think, all here's my answer to that. I think you attract your what is your vibe. And I've been vibing better, so I've attracted Forest Mommy.
Yeah.
I
With
I had
buds.
I had a lot of I did have a lot of bitterness, and not necessarily about this. There's a lot that's gone on in my life. It is weird to be like, one thing is like, nobody is like, even in the capital of Scientology, I didn't know anybody else in public school that was a Scientologist.
Would
People
you
ask
have to
what.
like go to the library sometimes when they were doing certain lessons? Would your mom like opt you out of things?
No, no,
Okay.
no. She wanted me to she wanted us to understand real life. My parents were very poor. My father from Western Pennsylvania, and a lot of uncles are truck drivers, mechanics, working people.
Blue collar,
Yeah.
salt of the earth.
Uh, when I brace myself when I visit my uncle down in Florida, because he just curses like a madman. It's just nonstop. But everything he says is heartfelt. It's like, anyway. Yeah, with a lot of drinkers, man. Like, my dad's probably one of the most sensitive. He's probably the most sensitive, soft of them, of all the men of that batch.
Were
And I'm
your
like
parents? Oh, go ahead.
no,
I was gonna say, were your parents kind of like hippie minded? Is that what kind of drew them to it?
definitely, yeah.
Okay.
My dad was like a rabid Beatles fan, but he was pretty hung up on the Beatles, but Neil Young kind of stuff. Like, he was like that kind of like singer songwriter with an acoustic guitar. Still is. He's more active as a musician now than he's ever been.
Aww.
Yeah, they're great. As a retired couple, they do a lot together, and they play music together. They're Unitarians, just super rabid leftists. I'm like, oh damn, how I got them to switch from Republican to Democrat when I was still trying to give the Democratic Party a shot.
Right.
I liked Obama at first. You know what though? Looking back, seeing what Biden's doing and what Obama didn't do, it makes you think like, he kept some shit under control. Like, you do want a smart person in that seat that has a little bit of a fucking conscience. That's all. It's pretty much all you can expect at this point. And in a weird way, Trump was that guy too. It's like, if you really want to define the president, it's not what they did, it's what they didn't do. That's really
Yeah.
big. Because sometimes they do something and you look closer to what they didn't do in that bill or that action, whatever is tells you. So anyway,
I've admitted before I voted for Obama the first time. I've admitted it and they had the DNC out here in Denver that year. So there was just like all this excitement and blah, blah, blah. And I was on my own then and stuff. So like, I was like definitely a capitalist and like more like, I didn't like the government, but I wasn't politically involved. I didn't know anything, I just thought I was just like everybody else, basically. Like, I just thinks the Democrats are great, but I've since learned. I've made amends. So
It's tough. There's things that I don't like any of the parties, so I'm not involved. I'm not going to be involved with any parties. I did vote Libertarian for the first time. Before that, I voted Green Party. Before that, it was Democrat until all the way back to 2000. But that's the thing. Like, I got sucked into that argument at the beginning because you were looking at Bush, and it was just, and look what happened there. But who knows with Gore, what false flag would have happened with him? In a way, I think 9/11 had to happen. Not that it's a false flag.
no, but
Forgot what
the
channel we're
U.S.
on.
the U.S. government. Oh yeah, I'm not monetized yet, so, or very huge, so hopefully. But I mean, the U.S. government was screwing with things in the Middle East for so long. It was like it was going to happen no matter. And that was, I mean, back to the 50s. So all the presidents since then, America had been fucking shit up over there. So it's like, what are you
Yeah,
gonna do?
what we would in a natural environment where governments and intelligence agencies are not in bed with terrorist groups and actually creating them and whatnot, um, you would see some natural retaliatory actions on the ground in places where Americans are setting up bases, but you wouldn't see it domestically the way it's bananas what we're seeing here. And what kind of propaganda is going on? It's just been getting crazier since 2000, and yeah. So
You didn't do your magic enough. You didn't do all your TR stuff hard enough. Otherwise, we wouldn't have anything bad happening.
yeah, it's not my
Just-
fault.
just kidding.
Yeah, you get every day. I wish all beings to be happy, peaceful, and liberated. It's part of the practice with Vipassana.
Okay.
And so far not everybody is, but just keep wishing.
I remember the first time I heard about Jack Parsons pretty much was watching. Did you watch the Strange Angel show? I don't know if you saw that.
No.
So CBS had a show about all this, and I think it's only one season. So it's either one season or maybe two. I forget, but it didn't like go on. But it's basically the story. It's called Strange Angel. I can't believe that you can still get it on like CBS. Like if you order it streaming, I think you could still get it. But it's all about Jack Parsons, and then coming up, and then how do you is it Thelema? Thelema? I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, I think Thelema. Yeah,
Thelema.
Thelema.
So when they came in and like just like the whole transition of like how they came in and kind of took over his life while he was still doing all this stuff and like believing in it, and like it was a really interesting show, obviously, and it had some hot stuff in it too, which was kind of fun. So like and that was my first introduction to, I mean, I had heard of Satanism and stuff like that, and other things, but that was my first introduction to Crowley and this whole idea. So my whole thing was, I love the idea how they would say, love is the law, love under will. Cause I'm like, that's kind of like the nap, basically, to me, like the way it works out. It's like everything has to be done out of love and you can't impose on other people's will. And I was like, I always like that idea. I don't buy into the dogma of it, but I was like, well, that's kind of that's nice, And then I actually have the one book, Crowley's book, which I haven't read much of it because then I started getting scared that the magic was real. So I was like, maybe I shouldn't read too much of it, but it was just so interesting. And then like literally in the last year, even since COVID, I started learning about how there was magicians during World War I and stuff on the fields. There was all these magicians and like all this stuff going on. And then I was like making the connection. Oh, and then Parsons, and they wanted him to make the rockets and stuff. And then they brought in the sex cult, and then like that's kind of like magic. And then L. Ron and then Scientology, and it's like, oh god, all this stuff has got to be connected to some extent, right? Like, and the show is actually very entertaining if anyone wants to watch it. It's a show, so I'm not it's not 100% facts, I'm sure,
Right.
but it's like the basic story, and the actor's cute, and like they show some of the cool sex stuff, like I said. So
this. Yeah, I will watch that.
It's,
What's it called again?
Strange Angel.
Strange Angel.
Yeah. So, and I think you can get it like
Strangely.
onto CBS, whatever CBS streams right now, and if you get it through Amazon or
Ugh,
something. I think that's how I saw it.
maybe I get
I,
it through Hulu.
that or like I think you can do like a free 30-day thing half the time with a lot of those channels. I'm pretty sure that's how I got it. And so it was funny is at the time I had uh like a fuck buddy, and like he was really into that stuff too. And then I was then like, but his life was really dark, and I was like, okay, no, like I don't. It was
Hmm.
just so much interesting stuff happened in that 2019 for
Yeah,
me.
careful with that.
Yes, and like then I like started like, okay, there is something to this stuff, like
I had friends in Portland, like I said earlier, that were practice magic, and there was even a guy who's got a bit of a magic. He does this. He's got an alchemical. He got his degree from Evergreen. Remember, Evergreen College. It's
yeah,
been
yeah,
part of the woke thing. Cool. Like I knew a lot of people that went to Evergreen, and because it was a very free, liberated concept. You could kind of come up with your own coursework and your own degree concept. You basically got like a generic liberal arts degree or something, but then you had your own projects that you did. And everybody that I knew that was an artist that went there was just insane. Like their art had no practical no practical direction. But that's part of what I loved about like Portland. It was very creative, and everybody, because there's no big city nearby. It was all we had. So we really supported each other and did weird stuff. So we supported each other when we in all kinds of nefarious things too. It's a little bit too open-minded sometimes. Um Not saying that my friends doing magic were not trying to stay on the light side, but I could see how they could go a little nuts. One of them I asked one time, it clicked in my head years ago, like 7 years ago or so, like that they program the future into the media so that to absolve themselves of the karma. I asked my friend who knows this stuff, is there something to that? Do they have to announce what they're doing as cryptically as they can but to still technically announce it as part of their ritual? And he kind of smirked at me, didn't really want to give it away, but basically confirmed my suspicion. And then that's been all over the conspiracy podcast in the last couple of years. Everybody understands this now. Everybody understands this now.
yeah. They tell us every fucking time. Just, and this something else I'm gonna say about Strange Angel too. It's because it was back then. No one was traveling all over much, and they thought Aleister Crowley was this like awesome, really cool dude. Obviously he was writing this amazing works, and they were following this religion, and then they show like that he was just like a loser heroin addict. Like they kind of like go into that
Who
aspect of it
burned
a
out
little
his
bit.
money? Yeah.
Yeah, like and I think they show that in the show that I think Parsons went over and met him and realized that,
I,
and I don't remember exactly how it worked, but
this is a question I'm going to answer again. I mentioned this earlier. I was never an adult, so by the time I was 17, I had no longer been setting my foot in the church. And I'll guess I'll tell you the story. When I was 18, I was out back in Santa Barbara. I'd moved out of my parents' house trying to make it in California. Ended up in LA for 2 years. But I was living with a childhood friend and working full-time job. But Santa Barbara was like, I didn't understand how expensive it was. It's like there were apartments back 20 years ago or like what apartments are going for now in like your average town. Um, so yeah, I couldn't afford Santa Barbara, but I was doing a beach cleanup. Today I was doing a creek cleanup. I still do these cleanups. I've always been doing these
thank
cleanups.
you.
Yesterday was Earth Day. Um, so anyway, I was doing a beach cleanup and hosted by Scientology, and then I saw them pushing their books on people, and everybody was uncomfortable. And I was like, "Oh, this sucks." And I was working for a Scientologist owned company at the time too. And weirdly enough, I was an investigator. I was doing surveillance on insurance
You were one of the
claims.
okay, not on other Scientologists,
Well,
insurance
that's the
stuff.
thing. Here's a
Uh,
Scientologist owned company that has a whole apparatus for surveillance. And my parents worked for them. And then because of my relationship to my parents, they were willing to hire me with no experience. And I went out there and did surveillance at 18 years old. And like insurance claims kind of investigation going out. Back then, you would have to actually go out to a scene with a roller and measure it. Now you just get this satellite Google image, but you have to measure it, draw it up on a diagram, go out to the film shop, get prints made of the pictures you make. Yeah, it's a totally different world now. But yeah, so that's when I left. That's when I completely I didn't leave. I never was in. That's what I got. I can't stress that enough. Can't stress it from a legal standpoint. Never was in. So yeah, there you go. Age 18, never was in. When I was 17, I bought 16 or 17. I bought, following my friend who got into Buddhism. I bought Dalai Lama's Way to Freedom book. Very short introduction to Buddhism. And I took to that, and then I took to Krishnamurti, and then, over the course of about 10 years, ended up getting really into Krishnamurti, then doing the 10-day retreat. Someday I'll do that retreat again. So I view myself.
Did the 10-day silence?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was great. Very intense. It's tough to find the time, but if you can, it's one of the most, you'll never forget it. It'll, it should change you. If it doesn't, then you're something. I would see people that they were like, I can't feel anything. You're just trying to sit there and feel your sensations. And you're not talking, but you do have time to talk with the teacher, and you can hear them talking a little bit. And people will be, I can't feel anything. I'm like, that's so weird that you can't feel anything. I don't know. But so people do have these blocks, so it might not affect them as much, but it affected me a lot. It was the first time I really got in touch with my heart. And I remember crying for like 20 minutes at the very end, at just crying for like fucking for no reason, just like, it was the moment I saw the sign that you could talk and I could hear everybody chattering, and it was just something beautiful. I don't know. It made me very emotional. That was the first time I got in touch with my heart. And then through some life experiences lately and practicing yoga, the yoga teacher, some devotion and her instruction, somehow I had this experience with like breaking through the energy through my heart. That bridge pose.
Oh yeah. You open your
bridge
God. Or wheel, or was it wheel?
Wheel, is it wheel when you're all the way extended out?
Yeah, and you're pushing your heart, and you want to like kind of push it up, and yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you, if you do that and you master that move, you can open your heart. And especially if you have someone that you're thinking about while you're doing it.
Oh, see, that's magic right there.
It is, exactly. And I think she knew what she was doing the whole time. I think she knew what she was doing.
Wily girl.
We are, yeah. That's so, yeah. She's pretty. Yeah, that's pretty wild, man. So today, I think just like anything that isn't about. This is why Christ is important. I guess when you find Christ, it's about the heart. It's forgiveness. Christ is all about heart.
You ask Jesus into your heart to be born again.
Exactly. That's where you find Jesus. That's where you find Christ. I prefer the word Christ because I don't know if Jesus. I look at pictures of Jesus. I look at the depiction of Jesus, and it feels blasphemous. It feels wrong. It feels like a false character.
Very well, yeah. Well, the story of the Christ-like figure being born of a virgin and being sacrificed happens in a few different religions, I'm pretty sure, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it probably happens in history. I don't know about virgin stuff. I
right. That's a little sketch. Someone might have said.
I'm not going to say it can't happen. But yeah, bridge pose sounds a whole lot cheaper than Scientology's Bridge to Total Freedom. But I'm bang. Kaiva go. Yes, it is. It is a lot cheaper. Yeah, enlightenment is free. Enlightenment is free. You gotta, if you're living, I guess I haven't been living by this long, but it feels like by living through your heart and following your heart's desire, you are going to be enlightened for free. I don't know. There's a lot of work involved with that. Yoga takes work. You can't just sit around and like do nothing and not. I've always been very rebellious and strong-willed. That will is important. But like the dark magic impresses its will on others. And have you seen this film called Branded?
No. Branded.
It's a fascinating film. It was kind of a sleeper. Have you seen They Live?
Yeah, I saw They Live like forever ago. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love They Live. I have
Yeah,
the glasses.
Yeah. I watch. Sometimes I just watch They Live. Yeah, it's a good one. But it's sort of like They Live.
Piper.
There's aspects of it that there's aspects of it that are like They Live. It's about a marketing guru, like a branding advertising guru, like a Don Draper guy, like really, but in Russia. And it's after the fall of, USSR, and they're building the capitalist world. So this guy is, he in a nutshell, he does a magic ritual, and he goes up against these guys in a different advertising firm, I guess, that are using these demons and to sell more fast food. They're like manipulating, they're like doing a reality show they do all these things to manipulate people's attitudes, and then there's this magic aspect of the whole thing too. It's basically it's a revelation of what's going on in our world. It's very hard for me to describe. Just check it out.
Watch it.
The film Branded. It's to me telling of how magic is genuinely used on people, and what dark magic is all about. It's about like tricking your will to go a certain direction, because they understand that this universe is not down with, like, when you follow your heart's desire, it's not up to you what that desire is anymore. Your ego is not involved. When your head is involved, you're constantly constructing realities for the future. And this is something Krishnamurti talks about in Awakening of Intelligence. It's your insecurity about your very existence that draws you to try to take something uncertain and turn it into knowledge, because knowledge gives you certainty, gives you security. Not knowing is actually how you awaken intelligence. I don't know is the first step to awakening intelligence. Then in that state of not knowing, you can explore and learn everything. But when you construct everything in advance, like, have you ever heard, the term, I got designs on her?
Mm-hmm.
You'd never want to have designs on a girl. Not too much. Take advantage of the moment. That's all. Like, follow your heart's desire. You can't design the future. You're trying to construct safety, but there is none, except that there's no certainty.
So I need to have a blank slate when I come now. Is that what you were saying? Just
Is that even possible? How do
I
you
don't know.
even do that?
Someone was saying there's a comedian named Nikki Glazer, and she was like, and growing up in Christian church, they teach you can't think about that. It's lust if you even think about anything sexual, right? Like, and so she's like, I would just masturbate, blank slate. Like, it's just funny how she's a comedian, so it's funny. I'm like, there's been times maybe where I could.
You can trigger a physical, yeah,
but
nah, I don't know.
It's more fun to think about someone.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
Ooh, I'm terrible, but whatever. I had a question for you.
Yeah.
I don't remember it. We can keep chatting because it'll come up, I'm sure. But was it?
Well, was it childhood stuff? I don't know. I mean, I'll talk about a little. I'll just wing it in there. Like, think about Christmas party. We had Christmas functions. We had holiday functions. That was probably the core of the congregation. This is when you'd see all your friends. And I had two different friends, the Scientology friends, the non-Scient. But on birthday parties, they all came together. Nobody cared about it. But it's like a secret that you are withholding. It's a withhold that you have on everybody when you grow up like that. It's very strange. So it makes you alienated and apart. And I've always felt that way. I'm just starting to break through a lot of this shit that has been holding me back.
Well, then you probably found it's okay to be apart from everybody and alienated a little bit if it's not from a negative. Wouldn't you agree with that?
What do you mean? I'm sorry.
Like, just super individual. Like, you could, like, because I felt that too growing up because I was this weirdo with the church and stuff. And then, like, but then as an adult, I kind of come to appreciate it because I haven't followed a crowd or, I don't know if that's where you were going with that, but
I do have a lot more gratitude for my life and everything. In fact, I just actually feel wonderful about where things are going and all that. But and who I am. I have a lot to offer. I've been through a lot. I can have a perspective that's unique, and I have still a lot of time to be me. So it feels good.
I remember what I was going to ask.
Yeah, go for it.
So the way that the church Scientology got so big with celebrities in Hollywood and all that, does that make you feel like it was a government op as well to some extent? Or was that just consequential because celebrities are dumb or something? I don't know.
All I can do is speculate because it's like there's this fishy aspect of Miscavige taking over and there being no formal goodbye from L. Ron Hubbard. He just disappears out on the ocean. And by then he was going bananas, and they were hiding that from people. They didn't want people to see how flawed he was, And the shit breaks you, man. Unless you just follow your heart, this shit breaks you. There's no shortcut in my view. Anyway, so it does make me think L. Ron Hubbard really believed in himself and his technology. Makes me think that. And then Miscavige comes around, weasels his way up, whatever, and then coups him. That's what it looks like to me. And then they strike a deal with the IRS, and who knows what other aspects of government, right? To make that deal with the IRS.
Exactly.
So, I think there was a moment where we were, John Travolta held us or something. Like we were definitely in the same room where he held us for a second. I don't remember what or I might be conflating that with a moment where like Davy Jones babysat us for a minute. My parents were house cleaners. They didn't have college education. They were in Scientology being house cleaners. They had their own house cleaning business, and
that'd be a good way to spy on people too if they're going to people's houses, right? Like,
yeah, that's funny. I don't think they had any clients from the church, but okay. It could have been moles, right? They could have been. They eventually sold that business and got into the insurance adjusting company that I told you about before. And then they remained in insurance pretty much for the rest of their lives, mostly.
Does Miscavige's wife ever show up again? Because hasn't she been like missing for a while?
Right. There's that weird shit. I don't know about that shit. I don't know.
Yeah, because I know that was Leah was all about that. Like that was like one of the biggest things she always talked about in all her episodes. But they haven't had a new episode out in a while, so I don't know. Maybe they got to her. Well, and then COVID happened too, so whatever. But
Well, was that show always set to go on? I mean, how long can you do
yeah,
that
I
show?
don't know. I mean, it was more documentary based. So however many episodes, I don't even know if they even meant to do more and more, but they had ended up doing, quite a few. So yeah, but it would be there. How many more people are out of the church and willing to talk about it and all that? They probably got everybody.
Isn't it weird that the Handmaid's Tale actress is Scientologist and she doesn't see the irony of this? She probably doesn't even see the irony of how like they had them wearing masks to humiliate them in the season before COVID, and then it's such a woke show, but nobody seemed to care about that. I don't know.
Well, I saw
Yeah.
an interview with that girl, and she kind of, everyone's like, how do you get into character?" And she seemed very blank slate, and she says like she doesn't do anything to prepare; she just does it. So like maybe she's just constantly acting and has no like, I don't know. That's how I feel about some people. Or they just don't have. I just watched another documentary about this girl who supposedly got conned in New York City. She had a vegan restaurant, and like just the way she talks, and they're going through the story, and it's like, do you not have like anything in you, like a you in you, like some people just don't have like a strong, I don't know, it's hard to explain. That actress gave me that kind of vibe too, so maybe she can't see the irony of that because she doesn't, I don't know, maybe she doesn't even know.
Well, the celebrity centered stuff, from what I understand, is different from what everyone else gets at the regular places. My folks, by the way, were only clear. They never made it to OT. OT is the operating thetan. Thetan is your individual soul kind of vibe, and yeah, it's basically it's you are a soul, and you're called a thetan, and you're not operating until you've been through the OT coursework.
Ugh. Which
And
costs like thousands of dollars to get through, right?
what they reveal in Going Clear is, $100,000. It's a six-figure thing, easily. So, and I had a friends, had an OT dad. He had it on his license plate, OT8, and there was never any food in the fridge. There was very little dressing to the house, but it was a big house because you want to look like you have success. You want to look successful. You want to, they tell you like havingness is something that you've earned. Havingness, your sense of havingness. So you've earned it. There's just this whole structure of rewards. But yeah, we were not operating thetans, sadly.
I can't believe I'm even talking to you. No, just kidding. So in the chat, he said that she has a
Oh,
podcast
I was
too.
going to
So
say Going Clear. Oh yeah, she does.
so I'm gonna follow that.
Going Clear is what I was going to mention. The e-meter is used. Did you watch that or read it on
The
HBO? Like it was like 7 years ago. Going
Was it
Clear.
like a documentary about Scientology?
Yeah.
I may have. I don't know.
But they talk about the e-meter, and they say that in like OT3 or so, you get, or maybe even later, maybe 8, you get you're told to sit there with the e-meter and watch the cans, watch the e-meter yourself, and watch for like swings in the needle, I guess, for thetans passing through, like in your body, that you have to shed them.
Okay.
This is where I think it gets crazy obsessive, and this is where, if L. Ron Hubbard was serious and he was doing this, imagine that you believe that these things are getting on your fucking you have to like pluck them off, these parasitic thetans. Ugh, It's so disturbing. I mean, you do have to do that. You have to, but the heart is what heals everything. It blasts off those fucking parasitic energies. It just like, I'm telling you, man, the love vibes are where it's at. You don't
Heck
need to
yeah.
sit there with a meter figuring.
Well, and someone else's journey to figure out their own heart could never be like
I'm not judging anybody's journey because my parents had to go through it. Yeah.
right, but that's when it gets so like convoluted through like a lot of religion and cult and stuff. It's because they're saying, no, you have to do it this way. Well,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like it doesn't that was me growing up. I was like, I mean, I went to church all the time, youth group, Bible camp, like everything. And I was like, I had a blast that, as an adult, like I said, I look back on things I learned and whatever, but it's like I never felt what they were saying I should feel. So then it was always like, what are you guys feeling? Like what are you talking about? And I think I talked to you about this on the last time. Like I don't have the belief in any of that stuff. I've never found like I believe in this sex magic more than anything, but like I believe in my heart that they believe it. Like I truly believe that like my mom and dad believe in God and that Christ died for them and like that they honestly believe it. And that's all I can just feel, because I can't know their heart or whatever, but it's just
Yeah.
there's something to like that book that guy said like when other people are telling you how to do things, it's usually not good to find your heart.
Yeah. It's like, and it is what it all leads to. All the religious, spiritual work that we do leads to that. It's just so simple. It's incredible.
It really is. Maybe it stems from people who saw other people feeling things and they're like, well, I want to feel things. And then they set up all this convoluted rules and all like it's just a
Yeah. Imagine that. Like,
snowball.
imagine being constructed to be a messiah, like Krishnamurti. Like, there's a moment where with ludicrous, he realized how ludicrous this was. And I think, the older he got, the more he realized he was involved with a bunch of fucking maniacal magic practicing pedophiles. Charles Ledbetter was like his main teacher. Annie Besant was his like best friend in a way. But he was a boy. They saw something in him. Charles Ledbetter, you can be your morals can be quite flexed, I think, in this magic sort of. It's dangerous because you're compartmentalizing your psyche. I think that's something that people who get very spiritual forget, or they play with dark sides. The compartmentalization. To me, Buddha makes it simple. Right living. You have to earn your money the right way if that's how you want to live. You have to. Everything that you do has to be consistent. And Krishnamurti talked about it as integrity. Integrity means having your connection to the whole. You are the world is you. When people get angry about the government, they act like it's not a human manifestation, that they are a participant of. And it's like, that's why I focus more on civilization and relationships than like, you can revolutionize the government. Krishnamurti said that all the time. You can revolutionize the government. Then what? You're still bitter. You still feel insecure. You're still trying to turn uncertainty into certainty when you can't. And it's going to be the same conflict again and again, cycling itself. It's a tough pill, I think, for a lot of like anarchists to accept that we are the government. In fact, there's some strict anarchist thought, which is to separate yourself from the government. You are not the government. But I can't do that. I relate. The world is me. I am the world.
We're all the blanket, man. You're just over here on this part. I'm over here on this part.
Yeah. The flat earth.
I love that. Well, we're over an hour. I don't know if there's anything else you want to share, any stories or anything else you were thinking about.
No, I'm pretty free. don't really have anywhere I have to run off to. If it's kind of up to you. Is there anything curious? I'm sure there's more. Is there anybody? Kaiva Go has a lot.
Watching.
Huh?
Yeah, he knows a lot. He does know a lot. If there's anyone, a constitutional carpenter, he came in later. Sean grew up in Scientology, so that's what I was just kind of wanted to hear his experiences, and then we were talking about just the connections of all sorts of crazy shit. Let me see if anyone asked anything.
Yeah, and also like there's almost a weird handoff moment there where Crowley is actually dead by the time Scientology really rises. Like I didn't realize how old he was. He was 25 at the turn of the 20th century. So he was in 1900. He was already 25 years old, and he doesn't run into. I always get Jack Parsons' name for some reason. It's hard for me to gel in my memory.
Well, there's another guy too with Jack Parsons. Wasn't there another dude involved too? Sorry, go on.
Well, I don't know how that connects to Werner von Braun and Apollo. I don't see where it all goes. There's a lot to connect there, I think. But yeah, so it was like they met Crowley, both of them, pretty late. They were young, and he was old. He died kind of young. Crowley wasn't that old when he died, but that was interesting to me. So they didn't have. It seems like they saw him declining, and they might have seen an opportunity there. As maybe what kind of like, oh, we have a.
I mean, yeah, they were like following all this stuff, and then they see him as like a declining, ex-heroin addict or whatever he was at the time. I need to really like read the real history of it because like most of my understandings from that show. But yeah, I mean, why wouldn't they? And then if it was the government pushing this stuff, or at least telling them to like, I don't know, because I'm like, well, of course, if the government wanted him to make these rockets for them, and they know like this magic stuff can work, then of course they're gonna like push it. I don't know. It's just also, and everything was so different back then. There was no the technology was just so different. It's like be easy to get into that kind of stuff, I would feel.
I think it's true. I think Final Fantasy 3 is a game that I played as a kid. Final Fantasy series, the first 3 came out on like Nintendo, and then it went to PlayStation, became a very different thing. But that's not the point. The point is like the storyline is like there's this magic, and some people know about it, have the know-how and knowledge of it, and practice it in evil ways, and you have to defeat them. But in this third version of that game, this guy Kafka or something, he like takes over the world and creates this technology, these like robot machines that are using magic as a technology, and through the power of this controls basically the weather, climate, controls health with disease, runs the whole world. We're living in a world now where I believe that's what's happening. We have a.
I was thinking that yesterday because it's been windy here for weeks on end. It is never windy in the spring like this, and I'm like, maybe these fuckers are controlling the weather. Like, and then it would. Yeah, and it would help, especially because the whole climate change and fires. The more windy it is, the more chance of a fire starting, and then they can, use that for politics and all this and blah blah blah. And it's like, Jesus Christ. No offense to Jesus Christ, but
yeah,
we're so like,
yeah, it's up to us. It is up to us.
I just have to focus on calm, no wind when I come. That'll help. I got to focus on the weather. Just kidding.
Yeah.
I'll fight back against their crap.
Jeez. Yeah, it's wild. It's what's going on his time. The thing is, I don't think that you can create a technology that captures that stuff. I don't think that you can direct the world. I think control. William Burroughs was like, there's no practical purpose for control. Control leads to nothing practical. It just leads to more control. It's interesting is the way he talks about control. Burroughs was another kind of these enlightened junkies that practiced magic and stuff, but the enlightened junkie has deep egoistic flaws. Any path other than dissolving ego and radiating through heart, I think, is just a sure path to mental illness. And this is coming from a guy who feels like he's been living this way for a few weeks now. That's it. So we'll see how things go in life. But it's the proof's been in the pudding lately. Things have been going smooth. It's nice.
Well, that is good for you. I'm glad that's happening.
That could be my end note. I don't know. I feel like pretty good about it. Is there anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty good. I think we got it. That was a really interesting conversation. I mean, it could like snake and keep going, but we could end it there and then pick it up again somewhere else another time.
I'm happy to be one of your regulars.
Yay! You will be. Sorry. You already are. Once you're my friend, whether you like it or not.
I like that. That's how I roll.
Do you want to like plug your stuff again, your channels and all that stuff?
Yes. Thank you again, Forest Mommy, for the bump, and appreciate everybody who's here right now. You can find me at SeanOngley.com, at Sean Ongley on Twitter. I don't have any complicated names. I'm very public, so it's just Sean Ongley. Just search it. You'll get all kinds of links. You can read more about me on my website and stuff. And I'm I don't know. I feel like there's some exciting things happening in my world if I just keep following my heart. So I hope you follow me and see that stuff come to fruition. So do it.
And you want to chat after I end
Yeah,
the
sure.
live? Okay. Yeah, everyone follow Sean. I'll go back. I'll put all his stuff in the comments too, and then I'm gonna go back because there's a ton of books and movies recommended. I'll kind of list those in the thing too. So, thanks everyone for tuning in and all the info that Kaiva Go gave us too, and we'll talk to everybody later. Oh, bye, Waneme. Sorry.